This is the doctor speaking. Well, one of them. Is there anybody there? Oh dear, we are surrounded.
Oh, my giddy aunt. Oh, crumbs.
Well, I must say goodbye, Brigadier. I really shouldn't be here at all.
Hello everyone and welcome to Theta Sigma's 5th Doctor Who podcast. In this week's show, Dark Eyes, the Brigadier, and a special look at 2nd Doctor actor Patric Troughton. So, as promised in the first podcast I ever recorded, here is the first of my reviews of Doctor Who that I've either listened to or watched. In this case, the Big Finish story, Dark Eyes. I'll do my best to keep this spoiler free, but I'm not promising anything, so if you've not yet heard it and plan to listen to it, now would be a good time to stop listening to this podcast and go listen to Dark Eyes, then come back and listen to the review. All listened up? Excellent. Now that you've heard it, I'm sure you have an opinion on it that you'd like to share. So you can either inbox me on Theta Sigma's Doctor Who page on Facebook, or email me at respectthething@gmail.com. I'd love to hear what you thought. But for now, here's what I thought. I was lucky enough to have Dark Eyes brought for me by my wonderful sister for Christmas. I was full of anticipation and expectation, as it had been given a huge build-up as an epic story. Rumour was that this story would cover the Time War, and part of me really hoped that it would. But then part of me really hoped that it wouldn't as well, as one of the major appeals of the Time War is its myth status. I have to say I wasn't disappointed on either account. For 3 episodes I thought this story really was leading up to the Time War in episode 4. But in the end, I'm glad that's not what happened. So to the story itself. Dark Eyes picks up immediately after the events of To the Death, where the Doctor has seen long-time companion Lucy Miller, Tamsin Drew, and his own great-grandson Alex Campbell all killed in an epic battle with the Daleks. Here we find a Doctor looking for hope, but a Doctor with no hope. Enter the Time Lords, who send the Doctor on a very important mission, and what ensues is a story of Hollywood blockbuster proportions. This story, each part lasting a whole hour, could easily have been made a film instead of this audio, such as the quality of the storytelling and the performances by all those taking part. McGann is amazing in this story, and on this showing, so to speak, still has much to give for the 8th Doctor, and I for one hope he stays with Big Finish for many years to come. Molly O'Sullivan, a World War I voluntary aid detachment nursing assistant, don't call her a nurse, is a feisty companion to McGann's Doctor, but the two are well suited, and their chemistry in the recording booth soon comes across on the audio as well. I won't say any more to avoid spoiling this amazing story any further, but suffice to say that if you've not yet heard Dark Eyes, you need to get out there and give it a listen.
That's it. I've been renewed. It's part of the TARDIS. Without it I couldn't survive.
So to the second part of my sometime series looking at all 12 actors who've played the lead role in Doctor Who. That, of course, is including Richard Hurndall, but more of him later on in the series. Today we're focusing on Patric Troughton. Troughton was born on the 25th of March 1920 in Mill Hill, Middlesex, to Alec George Troughton and Dorothy Evelyn Otford, who married in 1914 in Edmonton. He attended Mill Hill School and continued to live in Mill Hill for most of his life. While there, he acted in a production of J.B. Priestley's Bees on the Boat Deck in March 1937. He later attended the Embassy School of Acting at Swiss Cottage under Eileen Thorndike. After his time at the Embassy School of Acting, Troughton won a scholarship to the Leighton Rallius Studios at the John Drew Memorial Theatre, Long Island in New York. When the Second World War broke out, he returned to Britain on a Belgian ship. The ship hit a mine and sank off the coast of Britain, but Troughton escaped in a lifeboat. He had joined the Tonbridge Repertory Company in 1939, and in 1940 he joined the Royal Navy. He was a Lieutenant RNVR on the East Coast Convoy duty from February to August 1941, and Coastal Forces based at Great Yarmouth from November 1942 to 1945. He was concerned in an E-boat action, when one was successfully destroyed by ramming, and his ship and another destroyed 2 others by gunfire. His decorations included the 1939-45 Star and Atlantic Star. Troughton was known for wearing a tea cosy on his head during the cold weather in the North Sea. After the war, he returned to the theatre in 1945. He worked with the Amersham Repertory Company, the Bristol Old Vic Company, and the Pilgrim Players at the Mercury Theatre, Notting Hill Gate. He made his television debut in 1947. In 1948, he made his cinema debut with small roles in Olivier's Hamlet, the TCF production Escape, which also starred William Hartnell, and a minor role as a pirate in Treasure Island, appearing only during the attack on the hero's hut. However, television was his favourite medium. In 1953, he became the first actor to play the famous folk hero Robin Hood on television, starring in 6 half-hour episodes, broadcast from the 17th of March to the 21st of April on the BBC, and entitled simply Robin Hood. Troughton's other notable film and television roles included Kettle in The Chance of a Lifetime in 1950, Sir Andrew Fawkes in The Scarlet Pimpernel in 1955, Vickers in the episode entitled Strange Partners in The Invisible Man in 1958, Paul of Tarsus for the BBC in 1960, Quillip in The Old Curiosity Shop in 1962, Dr. Finley's Casebook for the BBC in 1962, and Phineas in Jason and the Argonauts in 1963. He also voiced Winston Smith in a 1965 BBC Home Service radio adaptation of 1984. Prior to Doctor Who, he appeared in numerous TV shows, including The Count of Monte Cristo, The Adventures of Robin Hood, Ivanhoe, Maigret, Sherlock Holmes, The Saint, Z-Cars, and Softly Softly. In 1966, Doctor Who producer Innes Lloyd replaced William Hartnell in the series' lead role. The continued survival of the show depended on audiences accepting another actor in the role. Despite the bold position that the replacement would not be a Hartnell look-alike or sound-alike, Lloyd later stated that Hartnell had approved of the choice. He chose Troughton because of his extensive and versatile experience as a character actor. After he was cast, Troughton considered various ways to approach the role. To differentiate his portrayal from Hartnell's amiable yet tetchy patriarch. Troughton's early thoughts about how he might play the Doctor included a tough sea captain and a piratical figure in the black face and turban. Doctor Who creator Sidney Newman suggested the Doctor could be a cosmic hobo in the mould of Charlie Chaplin, and this was eventually the interpretation that was chosen. Troughton was the first Doctor to have his face appear in the opening titles of the show, and one of 6 Doctor Who actors to play 2 roles in the same story when he appeared as Salamander in Enemy of the World. The others being William Hartnell in The Chase and the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, Tom Baker in Meglos, Peter Davison in Ark of Infinity, David Tennant in Journey's End, and Matt Smith in The Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. During his time on the series, Troughton tended to shun publicity and rarely gave interviews. He told one interviewer, "I think acting is magic. If I tell you all about myself, it'll spoil it." Years later, he told another interviewer that his greatest concern was that too much publicity would limit his opportunities as a character actor after he left the role. In a rare interview with Ernest Thompson from Radio Times, this reveals that Patrick Troughton always liked dressing up and would have been happy as a schoolteacher, as children keeps one young. Troughton was popular with both the production team and his co-stars. Producer Innes Lloyd credited Troughton with a leading actor's temperament. He was a father figure to the whole company, and hence he would embrace it and sweep it along with him. He also gained a reputation on set as a practical joker. Troughton found Doctor Who's schedule, which at the time was 40 to 44 episodes a year, gruelling, and decided to leave the series in 1969 after 3 years in the role. This decision was also motivated in part by a fear of typecasting. His decision would eventually become something of an unwritten law, sometimes known as the Troughton Rule, among actors, in order to prevent one from becoming typecast in a particular role in a potentially long-running television programme. Troughton was succeeded in the role by John Pertwee, and we'll be looking at him in a later podcast. Troughton returned to Doctor Who 3 times after he originally left the programme, becoming the only former Doctor to reprise the role that many times on television after his original run. The first time was in The Three Doctors, a 1973 serial celebrating the programme's 10th anniversary. 10 years later, Troughton overcame some reluctance to reprise his role and agreed to appear in the 20th anniversary special The Five Doctors at the request of series producer John Nathan Turner. He also agreed to attend Doctor Who conventions, including the show's 20th anniversary celebrations at Longleat in 1983. He also appeared around the world then with Nathan Turner. Troughton enjoyed the return to the programme so much that he readily agreed to appear one more time as the Second Doctor, with Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor in The Two Doctors in 1985. Reportedly, Troughton also advised Fifth Doctor actor Peter Davison to limit his time in the role to 3 seasons in order to avoid being typecast, and the young actor followed that advice. After Troughton left Doctor Who in 1969, he appeared in various television and film roles. Film roles included Scars of Dracula in 1970, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell in 1973, The Omen in 1976, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger in 1977. Television roles included a guest starring spot in the comedy series The Goodies in the episode entitled The Baddies, as well as episodes of Dr. Finley's Casebook, The Persuaders, Coronation Street, Softly Softly, Z-Cars, The Sweeney, Space 1999, The Oneidian Line, All Creatures Great and Small, Only When I Laugh, and the very first episode of Inspector Morse in 1987. Troughton's health was never entirely robust, and later in his life he refused to accept his doctor's advice that he had developed a serious heart condition through overwork and stress. He suffered 2 major heart attacks, one in 1978 and the other in 1984, which prevented him from working for several months. Following each of these attacks, his doctor's warnings were again ignored as Troughton committed himself to a heavy TV and film schedule. Friday the 27th of March 1987, 2 days after his 67th birthday, Troughton was a guest at the Magnum Opus Con 2 science fiction convention in Columbus, Georgia in USA. Although he'd been warned by his doctors before leaving the UK not to exert himself because of his heart condition, Troughton appeared to be in good spirits and participated vigorously in the day's panels, and was looking forward to a belated birthday celebration which was planned for the coming Saturday evening, as well as a screening of the Doctor Who story The Dominators, which Troughton had requested personally on the Saturday afternoon. Sadly, Troughton suffered a third and final heart attack at 7:25 a.m. on the 28th of March 1987, just after he'd ordered his breakfast from the hotel staff. According to the paramedics who were called, he died instantly. Troughton will be remembered for the cosmic hobo style in which he played the role of the Doctor. Many to this day say that we have Pat Troughton's performance as the Doctor to thank for the series still being around today, as had his interpretation of the Doctor not been accepted by audiences back in 1966, the show would have died there and then.
It's Colonel Lethbridge Stewart. Brigadier now, I've gone up in the world.
As a tribute to Troughton's wonderful Second Doctor, my choice of voiceover theme this week is that of a character who made his very first appearance alongside the Second Doctor and went on to become a series regular. So please enjoy the voice of the Brigadier.
Just routine, and my name is Lethbridge Stewart.
I must contact Geneva.
Jenkins? Yeah? Chap for weeks there. 5 hours left.
Goodbye, Doctor. Goodbye. Doctors, Brigadier. Splendid fellows, all of you.
And that's all for this show. I do hope you've enjoyed listening. And as always, if you have any feedback or any Who-related topics you'd like me to look at on the show, please let me know by inboxing me at Theta Sigma's Doctor Who page on Facebook or by email at respectthething@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and until next time...
Well, goodbye, my boy. You did quite well. Quite well. It's reassuring to know that my future is in safe hands.